y'all, Andrew Shaver here. Just wanted to do a quick video today on my most recent single. It's called Without Her. It is available on all the streaming services. Before we dig into this video, if you haven't heard it, go look it up, take a listen, because we are going to break down what is going on in this song. I got a bunch of great players on the track, and I just kind of want to take the time and showcase their talents and what all they added to it. And then at the end of the video, if you are a producer, engineer, or just nerd, I will go into what some of the plugins are that I use to get the sounds. And yeah, let's dig in and have some fun. So here is the intro and first verse.
Yeah, she's got this way about her. I don't know what it is. It's every single thing about her until that goodnight kiss, which always gets me dreaming about her until that sunlight hits.
Alright, so let's look at what's going on. In the intro, I have a few different MIDI patches that I programmed using both instruments from standard that come with Logic, as well as different ones that I got through Native Instruments. Here's what's going on. I just did this to add a little bit of atmosphere, a little bit of color to the sound, and just, you'll see. So nothing crazy going at all, just basically holding down chords and different sounds just to add some ethereal goodness to it. So that's what's going on there. Let's look next at the drums. Musically for this one, it's a country track, I guess. It's also kind of rock. It's all over the place, genre-wise. I had Brian Beal, who is the drummer for the band Big Daddy Weave, big Christian band, great drummer. He tracked the drums at his house. Here's what he's doing in that first verse. I kind of wanted a clubby, poppy kind of drum track, and he killed it. So he's got the 4 on the floor going, some nice shaker, some tom work. I did a little bit of effects work on the shaker to make it sound a little interesting. So it's pretty stripped down in that first verse, but really that's all he needs. And Brian is a master at providing just the meat and potatoes you need for any track. Next up, I got Larry Kraft on bass, who was played for Love and Theft, Jared Neiman, Low Cash, the Swan Brothers, Heidi Newfield, tons of great artists. Awesome Detroit guy, got that Motown swag. So he's doing more chordal work at the beginning, keeping it simple. Then he'll drive it here in a second. Once it gets further in. So not much going on in the first verse, but really, that's what it needed. Underneath that, for guitars, I grew up in the 90s and am heavily influenced by grunge bands and everything else, so it's kind of a 90s-tastic guitar riff going. So there's the riff for the verses. Pretty simple, but I think it gets the job done. I did that layering an acoustic, and then I used my PRS piezo guitar to add more depth to that. Now, where this track gets crazy is Matt Menefee. He is banjo player he's played for Big and Rich, Stephen Curtis Chapman, Mumford & Sons, Warren Haynes, tons of guys. When we talked about this track, I had heard an instrumental he did where basically he turned his banjo into a synth. So I wanted that on this track, and he delivered. Let's see what's going on in the first verse. So if we break that down, you've got some tracks where he is doing clean, typical banjo sounds. So we got 2 tracks of that. The one on the left gives some counterpoint. Now if we look at these synth tracks, we've got put it all together, it creates some crazy field of sound, which personally I love. Let's listen to that. So, cool stuff going on. As far as vocals go, other than mine, I have my buddy Sal Gonzalez, amazing artist in his own right, great songwriter. We decided to at first have him doing some layering just to kind of give it more depth. So we got that going on during the verses just to thicken it up, put it all together.
Yeah, she's got this way about her.
So that's what's going on in that first verse. Let's go on and take a look at the chorus.
Which always gets me dreaming about her until that sunlight hits. Yeah, she got me thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been praying about her, 'cause I know that I don't deserve her. I'm not looking her eyes when the mood's just right. Know my struggles that I just can't see.
Alright, so in this section, we'll go through, let's go on and check out what the drums are doing. Brian picks up the dynamic and just rocks it out at this point. Here is what he's doing. So pretty straightforward, but that's all it needs. Larry over on the bass. He's doing a straight eighth pattern, but those slides he's doing fit it perfectly and just kind of give it more swag. So we got that going on in bass. As far as the guitars go, you've got acoustic, and then as much as a rock nerd as I am, I decided to go a little heavy with it. Nothing crazy going on, just some nice rocky goodness. And let's dig into the genius of Matt Menefee on this part. So he is again sticking with the traditional banjo sounds, and then he's adding all kinds of crazy synth. So that's pretty insane when you hear it. As far as the straightforward tracks, pretty active, and then you get into the synths, and we've got this. So he's got that da-da-da-da-da-da stuff going on. And then he also layered it with some more patty parts. Again, that's all banjo. It is not a keyboard. It's the genius of Matt Menefee. We got a little bit of MIDI going on, I did. Again, basically same thing going on in the verse, just held it through. And then as far as the vocals go, I got Sal doing harmonies. So here is that. I also did some harmonies myself.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been praying about her 'cause I know.
So within that, as far as my harmonies go, I decided to dirty them up a little bit using some plugins.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been praying about her 'cause I know that I don't. Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been praying.
So that's what we got for the chorus. Second verse, not going to get too much into the parts, but here's what's going on. Brian and Larry get a little bit more active. Matt keeps going with some crazy synth stuff. Here's what's up. let's look at what Brian is doing on the drums. He's got a cool pattern going on with the toms. Shaker is still going with it. Kind of a tribal clubby vibe, which I really love what he threw down. And actually, let's go on and take a listen to what Matt's doing during that part. Ba 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 ba. Here we go. Now let's go pick up. So there is what is going on there. Next chorus is pretty similar to the first. After that chorus, I go into a solo, and here is that. Matt's parts ringing out with the cool, all this stuff right here I'll show you. I can't get over what he did on this track. It's insane. So yeah, that is some of the parts that are happening during this song. And for all you audio nerds and producers, just to show you a couple of quick plugins and tricks that I'm using. Let's see, as far as the drums go, I'll loop it in like the chorus or so. Kick drum. I threw a gate just to clean it up some. And then the iron pusher from Waves is killer for thickening things up. Here's without it. There's with it. Just thickens it up, gives you some low end control to boost that. It's also got clipping and just pushing yourself dynamically. It's a clipper and a limiter. You can add high end. I don't have any crazy settings going on, but it just adds some nice body to it. Let's go on and look at the snare. So I've got the Sheps Parallel Particles plugin going from Waves also. So with that, you have control of thickening it up. Here it is without it. With it. So you got air control, which is your upper frequencies. You got bite just to kind of accent the attack going on in there. Thick control just adds more body to it. You don't really need the sub control on the snare drum. So we got that going. I'm using Isotope Neutron. With that, I have EQ Transient Shaper to just bring out more attack. I have an exciter to add a little bit of dirt and just some more energy to it. And then just some basic compression settings. I threw a limiter on there just to kind of boost the signal overall, get it to cut through a little bit more. With that, I'm using the L1 from Waves. So when you put that together, we got a hat, IM Pusher on there. I got some Neutron from Isotope rocking. Alright, then we got overheads, and then we got a room mic, and also he did a seat mic. First I'll show you the others. Then he had this seat mic going, and that is kind of just adds some cool tone to it. All I did to that was just threw on a compressor. So nothing too crazy, but if you want your drums to really punch and stick out, definitely check out the IM Pusher from Waves. It is absolutely killer. He did some tambo, you know. So then we have, with as far as Matt goes, I kept everything very straightforward, just some compression and EQ on everything. So nothing fancy. On the synth parts, I did use the IM Pusher with it. Here's without it. You hear how that thickens it up that much, right? Added some of the more the magic knob, boosted the highs, and that's about all I did with that plugin for those parts. And as far as the guitars go, I actually did multiple tracks. I used the Helix, and then I also layered that with, for some parts, I used Native Instruments Guitar Rig. So, not a real amp on here at all, but if you know what you're doing, digital and modeling works great. Acoustic, I used the CLA Unplugged from Waves. Also, another cool plugin with that is Brainworks makes a plugin called Stereo Maker. So here's that. So if you want an acoustic to sound more double, I'm not using it as much for doubling right now, but you can literally use one mic and get it to go from here to here. So it's a great plugin to use if you want to fatten things up. So yeah, that is what is going on there. In terms of the vocals, I have on mine, I have this.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been praying about her.
So for the vocal, I have, this is a bounce down on it, so we're not seeing everything that's on there. The Greg Wells voice-centric plugin is what I used to get the reverb and delay that I used on it, and that works great. Other than that, Native Instruments Nectar is absolutely killer. It's basically an all-in-one solution for vocals. You got your compressions, you got your EQs, you got some reverb if you want it on there. You can throw in an exciter on too and get it just really pumping. So here's that. And let's look at... Oh, and also CLA Vocal by Waves, Chris Lord Algae Vocal is amazing. I use it all the time. You got your EQs, you got compression, reverb, delay, and pitch just to widen the stereo signal.
thinking about her ever since.
Here's without it.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been praying about her.
So you can hear exactly what that's doing. I ended up also using the stereo maker on it just to widen it out some. Here's without it.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been.
You can hear that instantly thicken that signal up. Basically, I treated the rest of Sal's vocals the same way in terms of my harmonies on there.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been.
So that one I've got kind of dirty. Here's the one on the right.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been praying.
So I literally distorted that and pushed it like crazy using CLA effects by Waves. And, you know, if you hear this on your own, you're probably going, what the hell are you doing?
Thinking about her.
It almost sounds like a distorted megaphone or vocal running through a guitar amp. But you put it all together, you get.
Thinking about her ever since we met that summer. I've been.
Let me mute out the main vocal so you can just hear harmony.
Since we met that summer, I've been praying about her.
And as far as Larry goes on bass, I'm running Guitar Rig. He gave me a direct signal. I just have it modeling an Ampeg. And then I have the H-Comp by Waves going. And then I have Neutron by Isotope, which is running System Overload. Fun. Sculptor, Equalizer, Exciter, and then 2 compressors. So nothing insane, just fattens it up. And then on my other chain for the main output, I've got C4 compressor going. Barely touching it, just kind of gives it a little bit more energy, a little bit more vibe. Then I have the Abbey Road Vinyl by Waves going. Cool plugin. Just kind of adds a little bit more old school sound to it. Literally just makes it sound like it's on a vinyl record, which I dig. The SSL Comp by Waves, and this is, I'm not using much. If you look, the needle's barely moving, just there to add a little bit more punch to it. We had limiter going, and that's about it. So this is what is going on for this track.
Ever since we met that summer, I've been praying about her.
Oh, and the guitar solo at the end. For that, we are running. Native Instruments Guitar Rig. We have CLA2 compressor. I use just the Logic stereo delay. And then I also ended up using the Greg Wells voice plugin adding more delay, using a doubler to fatten it up, and added some verb on here. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. This just a little rundown on what is going on this track. Give it a listen, and hopefully that makes it more enjoyable to know what is going on. And thank you so much for watching. I got new music coming out soon. I just started recording my next track. It's called Oh Good Lord. And I'm also producing some music for some other folks that'll be out soon. So just watch my Instagram. It's Andrew Shaver Guitarist. And I will be announcing all these tunes when they come out. Thanks for watching.